everybody. I hope you're all doing really, really well around the globe. I have met so many of you now. When I record this video, for the first time, I know who it is all over the world, who I'm talking to. And before, when I first started these videos 2 years ago, I'd literally just sit in my office and I'm literally just talking to myself, thinking, will anybody watch these videos? I've no idea, but I feel this calling to record them, so I'm going to do it. And now here we are, 2 years later, and I've met so many of you around the world, and I feel so blessed. Thank you, thank you, thank you, because I've met all of my soul family, and still some to meet. I know, but I've met many of you guys now, and it feels wonderful. So when I sit here and record these now, I know who it is I'm connecting to. So I'm not going to waffle too much this week. It's been a funny old week this week in the Whitworth household. My eldest child, my beautiful girl, has been poorly. Nothing virus related, just a stomach bug. But anybody who has children who's had a stomach bug before knows what I've been dealing with all week. And my mum's had it as well. So, touch wood, only my eldest and my mum have had this bug, and the rest of us are absolutely fine. But yeah, it's so I had to cancel some of my sessions, but obviously my children come first, so I was looking after my little girl and having lots of snuggle time, which has been amazing. But I'm just going to jump straight into this week what it is that I want to talk about, because I'm conscious that the video that I'm going to put on the end of this, that you guys are going to be able to watch today, is about 45 minutes long. So I want to try and keep this to about 15 minutes. Try, Laura, try. So something that I've been wanting to mention for a while, and it came up in a session last week, is the collective consciousness and the role that the collective consciousness is playing on the planet at the moment in the lead up to ascension. And I've been wanting to talk about this for a while, and then this lady did a session that you're about to see last week that explained a bit how the collective consciousness or the grid works on her planet. And she goes to a different planet, it's not Earth, and you'll get to see all of that in a moment, which is great. But I wanted to talk about our collective consciousness on Earth. Now, at the moment, this is something that we never taught about at school. We never taught about this stuff. But we know that we are all connected in consciousness. We are all one. So on our planet, we're all connected. So, you know, sometimes when you can wake up in the morning and you went to bed feeling absolutely amazing, top of the world, you know, you had a really great day, you wake up in the morning and you feel terrible. And you're like, why do I feel so bad? And then you get these negative thoughts that start to come in, and you're like, oh God, I feel really bad now. And before you know it, you're in this place where you're feeling really sad. And the thing that I have to say about that today is, we're all connected in consciousness. So, you know, every time one of those negative thoughts pops into your head, or a negative feeling, you wake up and all of a sudden you feel a wave of anger, or you feel a wave of sadness, a wave of emotion. That wave of anger, sadness, that negative thought that you know is not yours, it's not yours. It's from somebody else in the collective. So when we were in the first lockdown, I mean, I try my hardest to stay in the highest frequency physically possible, but it hit me like a tank, and I could not understand why I felt so low. And my frequency in our first lockdown in the UK, and we're heading into a second one now, my frequency just plummeted, and I couldn't understand why. And through doing a lot of research and thinking and meditation on this, I think at this point it's important for it to be highlighted that we are connected in consciousness. So if a huge proportion of the collective are feeling angry, sad, annoyed, depressed, because we are connected in consciousness to those ones in the collective, and if you're an empath as well, it's even worse, you start to get these emotions and you're like, where's this come from? I'm the happiest person in the world. Why am I feeling this way? And it's because we're connected. So let's go into this a little bit deeper. So you've got the guys over this side that are service to self. And these are the ones that are the most polarized on our planet currently in terms of service to self, which is the ones on our planet who don't care about anybody else. They just care about themselves. That's the religion, if you like, that they follow. That's the polarization that they have chosen. So their service to self all the way over here. Then you've got all of the spectrum of all of the different service to selves up to that neutral point where you can sway either way. And at the moment, all of those guys that's from the neutral point to the absolute extreme of service to self, they're all polarizing more towards this extreme end. Then from that neutral point all the way across here, at this side of the spectrum, you've got service to others. And I would say all of us guys are included in this point, in this extreme polarization. The light workers, the people that go out of their way to share love, light, respect, and help others wherever possible, and who are holding the light on the planet for the collective. So they're all the way at this end. And then you've got all of those people from that either way point in the spectrum that are more and more and more and more and more and more and more service to others. They're all starting to be pulled more towards this polarization. That being said, at the moment, we're still connected in consciousness. So each one of us, no matter where we are on this spectrum, each one of us as human beings on Earth right now are connected in consciousness. So that means sometimes you can be doing something, I don't know, let's say for example ironing, of which I have a lot of and no time to do. Say you're ironing and happy as Larry, la 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 la, ironing away, and then all of a sudden this thought pops in your head that is just horrible. It's a horrible thought, and you're like, where the hell has that come from? Well, it's come from these guys over here who are connected to us in consciousness, because we're still all one cloud, if you like, at the moment, a cloud of consciousness. But what's happening with this cloud of consciousness is the cloud is pulling and separating into two clouds. Because as the polarization continues, and all of these people in the middle that have been connecting the two extremes at either end, as all of these people start to polarize and move towards the extreme end, what happens is in the middle it splits. And there's some people that believe that this shift is like a gradual thing, that gradually this cloud of consciousness will, little bit by little bit over the years, over many, many, many years, will move from over here to over here. And I absolutely respect the people that feel that way, because everybody has their own truth. Everybody has their perception of what is going on at the moment. And I absolutely respect everybody's perception. And that is me. I'll listen to everybody. And, you know, whatever people feel is right, that's absolutely their choice. This is a free will universe. But for me, my truth, my perception is, I don't believe that this cloud of consciousness will move gradually over the years towards ultimately a higher plane of consciousness. The reason I don't believe that is because we have a group of people in our collective consciousness currently that absolutely 1,000% do not want to choose the light. And that is their free will choice. They do not want to choose the light path. They want to choose the service to self path. And there are millions of these people, and they have been following this path for millennia in secret on this planet. So it's not possible for this cloud to gradually, over time, move this way. It's not possible. The energies are polarizing on the planet right now, because this is the point in time where we are given the opportunity, those who choose, those who have polarized towards the light, are given the opportunity to move up to the next level. That is an opportunity that the universe offers every so many thousand years. And these guys over here are also being given the opportunity to polarize along the service to self path. Now, these guys over here are trying to take as many souls as possible with them on that path, so they have more people with them in their reality. And over on this side, we're trying to do the same. We're trying to wake as many people up as we can to get them to polarize towards the light, so we have more people in our reality. And when it gets to a certain point, when these two very different, very extreme differences in polarity and being, when it gets to that extreme point, the consciousness splits. The collective consciousness splits. This bit in the middle that's been joining us together splits, because it's not there anymore. Because those guys in the middle and all of these ones have moved to a side. They have polarized. And at that point, the collective consciousness splits. And I believe that this happens all in divine timing, at the same time as the wave, at the same time as the earth sending that signal around the earth, which splits the two spheres of consciousness. It's all together. It's all together. And when the consciousness splits between the polarized service to self path and the polarized service to others path, at that point is when we see new earth. Why? Because in our collective consciousness bubble over here, there is now only people who hold the light within them. And because they hold the light within them, that's what we see outside. That is what we see outside. That is why the shift is as quick as it is, painless, no problems, no worries, because it is the collective consciousness. And when that split occurs between the two very different polarities, we will immediately see outside what our new collective consciousness, which is composed entirely of service to others, because we've split from those service to self guys, what we will then see as a collective is new earth. because that's what we hold in here. Now, I hope that helps to frame what you are about to see. And this wonderful, wonderful lady has allowed me to share this video. And I wanted to share it because it gives an example of the collective consciousness and the role that the grid plays on a different planet, something different to Earth. So we start out finding out where she is. She talks about this grid, this collective consciousness. Then she talks about her home planet, and then she refers to Earth. And I want to remind all of you guys at this point that we can tap in through our collective consciousness, through our grid, and we can find the answers to anything, because the answers to everything is held in the grid. So I hope that has helped to explain today what's going on in the planet, and to hopefully make people less worried, if you like, about what's going on, because the external reality right now reflects the two conflicting consciousnesses currently held within our collective bubble of consciousness. But the split is occurring. The people are polarizing. They're either polarizing towards service to self or service to others. Those are the two polarities in the universe that are available at this moment in time, in this dimension. And when the polarization has occurred, the two consciousnesses split, and that's when we see New Earth. Now, if you want to understand in more detail polarity and the workings of the universe, put it this way, this book, I don't know if you can see it, this book is fantastic. It's helped me no end. The raw material, The Law of One, and it's Elkins, Ruckert and McCarty that are the authors of this book. And I don't know if you can see, but my book is just so well read, it's unbelievable. There's so many highlighted passages and in it, and also as well, this one's the first one, but there's many of them. There's 5 in total. I've only got the first 4. I haven't bought the 5th one as yet, but there isn't just this one, there's many. So if you're going to get it, start off with number 1. If you enjoy it, then crack on and get the rest of them. But it really, really helped me in my awakening to understand what it is that's going on, because it is very confusing. But basically, this split is all to do with the polarization of service to self and service to others. What else did I want to mention quickly? Zoom call. So the Zoom call is Thursday the 29th of October, 11:30 a.m. UK time to 1:30 p.m. UK time. If you can make it, I would absolutely love to meet you guys. I think I have like a cap on my Zoom around 100 people. So if you can't get onto the call, it possibly may be because there's more than 100. I have no idea how many people are going to want to actually do this call. And I know many people that have said that they will do it, it'll get to the day and something will occur and it's not possible. And that's absolutely fine. But I just wanted to give the people that want to connect with other people around the world that are the same as them the opportunity. I've connected with so many of you now, and you all feel like home, each and every one of you. And I want you guys to be able to feel that as well. I also wanted to mention as well, one of the things that I will be mentioning on the Zoom is Halloween is coming up, which we know is one of the key points for the service to self people to do what they do. And I just wanted to encourage those of us who are aware of that to, at some point on that day, and not specifying a time, whenever you can, at some point during that day on Halloween, on the 31st of October, can we all meditate at some point and send the light, hug the earth in light, hug the earth in light, send light down to all of the inner earth, to all of the different deep underground bases down there, to all of the surface, send light throughout the earth. And also, can we connect with Alcyone and bring the light from Alcyone to earth, and just basically cover everything in light and love and high vibration. If we could all do that on the 31st of October, I know it will make a huge, huge difference. I'm going to let you guys go now because I've got a fantastic session to show you now. There will be gaps in it, so please don't hop on the comments and moan about gaps, because there are gaps in every single hypnotherapy session. That's hypnotherapy. It can't be helped. People are in a trance state and it takes time for them to make sense of what they're seeing before they can push it out. So if you're not into the gaps, potentially you might not want to watch this, but I just wanted to put this video out there because there's some great information in there, and how this beautiful being of light explains the grid, collective consciousness, and what we have available to us on earth is wonderful. So hopefully I'll get to see you on the Zoom call next week, and whether I do or I don't, I love you all. Have a great week. Keep vibrating high. No matter what happens out there, do not let it affect what you hold in here, because we are moving into a period of time where what you hold in here is the most important thing. And something that I'm getting through many of the sessions right now is we've got to meditate more. At this point, we've got to meditate more, and we need to go deeper and further into ourselves in meditation than we have ever been before. So I'll leave that one with you. Until the next time I see you guys, make sure you keep vibrating high and enjoy this wonderful video that you're about to see. Lots of love. Bye.
I guess I see waves of light.
Yes. Tell me more about them as you look at them in more detail.
They're sort of like the kind of light that you see when you look into the sun.
Yes.
And sort of taking shape as sort of wispy clouds, I guess. And I guess I see the shape of, it's a repeating shape of almost like a bird or a dove or a wing.
Yes.
It's very ethereal. It's not anything like, I'm not in a place where there's any shapes of things that I recognize. It's just still, it has that blue color. It's like looking into the sky. But it's not looking into the sky. It's different.
Just you acclimatize in this place, this ethereal place. It's very blue in colour, and you see that shape of a wing. Become aware of your point of perception and tell me more about what you look like in this place.
I wasn't even aware of my body until you asked.
Yes.
it's me that is creating that light.
Yes.
I couldn't see anything because it's me. And I just got an image of like I'm very elongated, and I'm illuminated, and I'm very tall, but I'm very fluid at the same time. It's almost like I'm dense like a crystal, but ethereal like a cloud at the same time. It's a very paradoxical feeling.
Yes. And in this place where you are, there's this very tall, illuminated being that feels both dense but light at the same time. Are you aware of anything else around you that looks like you?
I don't see anything that looks like me. I feel like I'm flying. I feel like I'm out flying in a sky or in a vast area. It just feels like I'm able to exist somehow in this vast area.
Yes. Tell me more about that area that you're flying in.
It's not really where I live. It's more of like how I get to and from. It's not really where you it's not where I live. It's sometimes where I go to recharge.
Yes. Tell me more about that.
It's like I go there to it's like I realize now that like I'm not really flying. It's just a place that feels elevated to me. And the way I see my body is like it's as if I'm wearing like a huge veil, though it's not clothing. It's as if my body um, in this place completely um, spreads out and like connects to the whole grid. Um, and it's a feeling of um, being connected completely, but not tied down in that way.
Yes.
I'm the grid. I'm like part of. I'm one I'm one aspect of the grid, but it doesn't feel crowded. I just feel very essential and unique to the grid. Um, but I know I'm just one part of it, and it's sort of the grid is, now I can see it sort of unfolding a little bit, and it's more of like an undulating being, I guess. It's just yeah, it's made up of a lot of beings, and I'm one of them.
Tell me more about this grid that you form, and tell me more about the thing that you're forming the grid around.
It's as if the grid is like a cool, like the color that I mentioned earlier. It's like a cool blue color, and I just became aware of like a disturbance somehow in the distance, like around the grid. Um, it's not upsetting to me per se. I just noticed that there's kind of looked red a bit, like as if it was like it's not part of the grid, and I think it's possible that the grid, um, it's not one thing specifically as far as shape. I think in some ways it's endless, um, but I think it's like we come to work on the grid a little bit, and I'm not sure what the grid really is for, other than
And when you work on that grid, tell me what it is that you do. How do you help to work on that grid?
it's like I bring information from that portal that I slipped through, and I bring it to the grid, and like I meld into the grid, um, so that I'm actually part of the grid and then not part of the grid. It's not like I lose myself in it. Um, Sometimes it's almost like I have to bring energy from where I come from into the grid, but it doesn't exactly drain me. It's like it just needs, I just need to be part of that grid. It's like I bring something to the grid and it also feeds me as well. It's,
And you say that you bring information to the grid from where you come from. When you plug into that grid, you bring information from where you come from. Tell me more about that.
I just get a sense that, like I said, the grid isn't where I live. I come to the grid, and the place I come from is, it's where I live in this lifetime, and I get it's like the community where I live um, creates an energy that the grid needs, and that's what some of us do is we visit the grid and we maintain it. And so it seems like my job is to bring the information that we have in this community where we live, which is very beautiful. Um,
Tell me more about that community where you live, which is really beautiful.
it's it just seems idyllic. I can see it like from where I am in the grid. It's like I never forget where I'm from when I go to the grid. It's not like I feel scared when I go there, but it's an important job. And I feel like I have tools that I bring with me, um, not physical ones, but because I don't really bring my physical form to the grid. It's more of like an energy transfer. But I feel really equipped when I go. And so when I'm there, all I get right now is this. If you look like as if I'm looking through a telescope, and I can sort of see this little circle of like a little circle portal to the place where I live, and it's really, really beautiful. And there's really tall, pointy mountains, not like the kind of mountains we have on Earth. The mountains are very pointy and very, very tall, and the sky is really beautiful, and it has more pronounced colors. It's just like a fairy tale, is all I can explain it. It sounds silly, but it's so beautiful. And when I remembered that that's where I came from, felt really happy, and it's like it's a really loving place. And that's where I live.
Tell me more about that place where you live and a bit more about the physical form that you wear when you're there.
I feel like I have that elongated shape. Like I feel like we're all kind of tall and skinny, like exaggeratedly. Um, it doesn't seem like that would be very useful to have such long fingers, but I feel like I have pretty long fingers. Um, but we're very delicate, but not in a. It's like there's nothing on this place that would like require you to have to be brutal. Like there's no need. Like we're just very fine features, like very thin um, beings. Uh, it's strange. It's um,
And as this thin being, this very fine featured being that's tall and skinny with long fingers, what colour do you feel that your body is?
I think it seems flesh-like. It doesn't seem. It seems
And as you look at yourself and the other beings that are in this place with you, do you feel that you wear any clothing of any
yeah,
kind? Tell me more
yeah.
about that.
Um, it's simple clothing. Like it's not, but it's not um, like archaic. It's just it's just very simple clothing, like very loose clothing, um, really natural fibers. Um, we don't have to dress too warm. Um, I see some people wearing like like a hat, like a little hat. It's more like I don't know. It seems more ornamental. Um, there's nothing here that requires us to be um, um, like there's no hard labor here. It's not like we would ever have to force our bodies to do anything that's that's brutal or hard on our bodies. It's like we know. I don't understand why, but it's like it's just very gentle. Like there's not like everything is just. I know there's a natural landscape, um, but it's not like it's hard labor to toil the land to get our food. It's just we survive more on energy, I think. So it's not like we have to do a lot of, we don't have the same kind of bodies, like where there's not human waste. Like it's just very, like, it's very pristine um, and very, very refined somehow. Um, but we definitely have bodies. It's not like we're just energy forms. It's definitely, I could see that, and it's flesh colored. Like it's not like we're energy bodies. So it's, but it's a very, I don't know why I can't find the word for it.
And as you look around this planet where you are, tell me more about the planet. Tell me what you see. You mentioned the pointy mountains. What else are you aware of?
Just really pretty green, um, trees and forest, and it's so clean. And the sky is um, very, very pale blue, and the atmosphere is just, it's richer somehow. Like it's a thicker. The atmosphere is very. Uh, it's almost like we breathe our nutrients in. So the atmosphere is very, very rich. It's almost like um, almost like a greenhouse, but not hot and uncomfortable. It's just a very, very rich um, ecosystem. Like, and we're really, we have a very symbiotic relationship with the land and the air. So it's like because we breathe the air, we can't pollute it. And so there's nothing in our nature and in our civilization that is creating um, um, dissent within that. Like it's just very symbiotic. It's
Yes.
just like a giant organism that is very, it's just really happy. It's just, it's almost like the perfect.
Yes.
Yeah.
And tell me more about the relationship between the grid that you are part of and take information to and the planet that you live on. Tell me a bit more about that.
It's not very big, I don't think, the planet that we live on. Um, and I don't feel like we're very big. I feel like we're pretty small, even though I said we were elongated. But I think that um, we are relatively small. And so that's why we don't have a huge impact. Um, it's like we have some strange status that even though we're small, um, somehow there's no predators directly to us. Like we feel very safe. Like there's no, it's very autonomous. It's like we have this special status somehow, um, because because we're the ones that work on the grid. And so that information, um, I feel like we are absorbing information in the atmosphere. I I think we are very we're like filters. Yeah, we're like filters. We're filtering, we're like bringing information in, and we filter that information. Um, and it's not just good information, it's all the information. So it's information coming from what feels like, it's almost like we're a hub, where information from the multiverse comes through us, and our job is to um, bring information to the grid. And
And the grid that you refer to, is that grid the grid around your planet, or is it around something else? Tell me more about the grid.
yeah, it's not just our grid. It is I feel like we're not the only ones doing that. I feel like we're maintaining a part of the grid. Um, we do one job, sort of one thing in relation to the grid. I don't understand really what it is that we're doing exactly, or how that works.
And are you aware of what it is that the grid does? What does the grid do with that information that you give it?
Well, the grid is made up of information, um, and it's not necessarily all true. It's not truth necessarily, it's information that um, people contribute to the grid, with their thoughts and their actions and their feelings. It's shared information. So the grid is all of the information that exists and that has ever existed. And now I see that those disturbances are almost like, I'm just hearing the collective unconscious. Um, you know, that information um, is made up of, well, it influences our beliefs, I guess. It's not necessarily true, is what I'm hearing. Um, and it's almost like we work to balance out um, the truth, the actual truth of information. Like we filter out um, I think what we're aware of is that the information in the grid um, is influencing uh, it's it's like an energetic barometer for, say, Earth. It's like we can see, um, we can measure, we can go to the grid and we can measure which way collective unconscious is going, as far as it just changes all the time. And I think that disturbance that I saw is examples of like crap in the grid, basically, and crap in the thoughts of human minds, I guess. It's not necessarily like the grid is pure.
Yes.
It's what we put into it. It's what we've created as, yeah.
And as this being that plugs into the grid and helps to filter out that information that is true and that isn't, if you connect with that grid today, what message does that grid want to give us?
There's just so much. There's so much information. It just makes so much sense to me. There's so much, like, it's just infuriating, it's frustrating, there's so much information available to people. And it's like they're just not tapping into it. And
Why is it that people are not tapping into the grid?
because we don't know the grid is there, we don't understand the concept of the grid. If we knew that there was a grid of information that we could tap into, then we would do that. And it's like we've forgotten. So we've forgotten, so we don't know. And then it's almost like we infect the grid with our limited thinking. And it's like we tap the grid for information that doesn't benefit us. And that's a collective agreement that we have, that we're all bound up in. It's not like it makes us happy. It's just that sometimes we just don't know how to get out of. It's like our thoughts are looping, and we're not really tapping into the grid, the endless amounts of information that are there.
And if we were, as humans, to connect into that grid in order to download the information that is there available to us, how would we connect with the grid?
You are connected. You're not connected. It's a matter of stretching your beliefs into remembering that it's osmosis. There's no cap on what we're allowed to know, or what we could know. There have been restrictions placed on our perceptions about what is possible. I'm seeing the human skull as being very hard. We think, our that our perceptions or our possibilities end, that's going on inside of our brain, that we're these closed systems. And it's not like that. Um, it's more of like breathing information. If you could just, it's like walking into the ocean, or it's like walking into a riverbed that's flowing with water. You become part of all of the information, all of the vibrations that have been that are in that are in the water molecules that have always been there. And humans forget that they have access um, to the grid because they're part of it. They're never not part of it. And
And so we're all connected in this place. We're all connected to that grid. And at any time, we can receive information from another part of the grid because we are all one being here.
anything you need to know is answered in the grid. All information is stored there. And you have access to the grid all the time.
And would that access come through the mind? How does that access? How do we access the grid? Tell me more about that.
It has a great deal to do with perception and allowing information to um, arrive. We're constantly putting information into the grid, and it's not a one-way street, but we think that it is. We think that we don't realize that everything we do and say and think uh, adds to the grid. It's constantly expanding, and so are we. We are part of the grid, and I think that it is just simply our perception. Awareness alone is what creates expansion. And so if we could remember that that is almost our sole purpose, is expansion, um, and that our bodies were designed to um, create an exchange of energy. That is how we get our information. Um,
And so if all of us remember that we are connected and we are a part of this grid, having that knowing will then in turn allow us to remember and to access information from the grid.
yeah, and it has to do with um, with you don't need anybody's permission for that. It's almost like we have given our power away, and now it's like we look to another source. We look to authority for our answers, and it's a habit that we've fallen into, and it is so deeply ingrained that we feel powerless and we feel cut off from source, and we feel cut off from our natural ability to um, access the grid. Um, we are light incarnate, we are energy incarnate, so we're never separate from the grid. It's more like, um, I feel like we have this hard skull, that like a helmet that prevents us from remembering. Like if you could remove that hard helmet of perception even, um, and just remember there's no cap on, like, that limitation is a mental construct, that we've been, um, somehow forced into adopting, and it cuts us off from, um, you know the millions and billions of things that humans are capable of. They just don't realize it. Anything you need to know is in the grid.
Yes. Thank you so much for that information that you have given us today. The people of Earth are really going to appreciate it.